Welcome back, everyone. Today, we're not just analyzing music. We are stepping into something much bigger, a massive, ongoing, and really personalized experiment. We're talking about the album quest.
That's right. It's this project driven by the author Rox, and he's attempting to, well, definitively locate the quote-unquote best album of all time.
And he's using this really rigorous, sometimes, I guess you could say, controversial tournament structure to do it.
It's an intellectual exercise as much as it is a musical one. And for you, the listener, our mission today is to really dissect one specific part of it, round 2, group 27.
Right.
We want to understand the precise methodology, the unexpected upsets, and the detailed reasoning that elevates 2 albums to the next stage while knocking out 2 others.
And these aren't just any albums. They're all winners from round 1.
Exactly.
Our 4 musical combatants in this particular bracket are, well, they're a truly disparate group, which is honestly what makes these random groupings so fascinating.
It's a great mix.
We have the Swedish pop rock powerhouse Roxette with Crash, Boom Bang.
A classic.
Then there's the global chart monolith Ed Sheeran and his album Divide.
Yep.
The architect of modern atmospheric melancholy, Lana Del Ray with Born to Die.
A very influential album.
And finally, the enduring sound of Scottish Britpop Texas with White on Blonde.
And the results were so specific that Rox actually titled his summary of this group, Summertime Sadness for Texas, while Roxette, Crash, Boom and Bang over Ed Sheeran.
Huh. I love that. It immediately tells you the general outcome, right?
It does, and it hints at that personal, almost irreverent tone of the entire quest. You know, Lana Del Ray secured the sadness, Roxette brought the noise, and Texas and Ed Sheeran, well,
they found the exit.
right on the exit.
So let's unpack this system a little bit right away. I mean, we can't really analyze the rankings without understanding the rules of this quest. It's a tournament structure, correct?
Absolutely. Think of it like a huge playoff bracket, maybe 64 teams, but with hundreds and hundreds of albums.
Okay.
Albums are placed into these groups, usually 4 per group, and the reviewer listens, he evaluates, and he ranks them from 1st to 4th. It's all based on his own subjective criteria.
And the critical rule is the cutoff.
That's the key. Only the top 2 albums qualify for the next round, which in this case is the all-important round 3. The bottom 2 are just gone, eliminated permanently from the running.
Wow. So that means that every single album we're talking about today has already proven its worth at least once.
They've all won their initial 4-way matchup in round 1. We're dealing with certified winners here.
Which should, in theory anyway, guarantee a pretty high baseline of quality.
It should. And you have to appreciate the reviewer's approach here. He's blending all these different tones, humorous, serious, deeply personal opinions.
Right.
It's this fantastic mixture of subjective taste, but it's always backed up by really detailed reasoning. And that's what transforms this quest from just a simple list into a sort of engaging narrative.
Okay, so before we jump into the music of Group 27 itself, we should probably address the meta-narrative of the whole quest. The whole point of round 2 is that the quality should be, exponentially higher than round 1.
You'd think so.
All the low-hanging fruit should be gone by now.
That's the logical conclusion, yeah.
Yeah.
But Rox is remarkably candid about the reality of it. Even 27 groups deep into round 2, he admits to bemoaning the lack of great albums being drawn out of the hat thus far.
That says a lot, doesn't it?
It speaks volumes about the sheer volume and, I guess, variability in his selection pool. He's still finding groups where the quality feels surprisingly middling for a second-round contest.
I find that skepticism really fascinating. You create this perfect methodology. You've got random grouping, clear elimination rules, but the subjective reality still kicks in, that feeling of, why am I reviewing this album right now?
For sure. It just highlights the difficulty of applying an objective structure to something as subjective as art. And he immediately engages in self-correction, which I think is key to the credibility of the whole quest. He calls his own sentiment mildly anecdotal, acknowledging that there have been more than several corkers already in round 2.
So he's checking himself.
He is. But that underlying frustration is still there. The quality jump from round 1 to round 2 just hasn't been as dramatic or as consistent as he hoped it would be.
And he even takes the blame for it, saying he shouldn't have allowed some of these albums through round 1 in the first place.
Which is such a confession, right? It's about the power of your own initial subjective judgment.
Exactly.
It is. It's the constant battle of being an art critic. Even with a tournament framework, you are still bound by your initial choices. If you allowed a merely good album to squeak past a potentially great one in round one because, I don't know, you were having an off day or just preferred its genre at that moment,
Then that ripple effect follows you all the way through the rest of the quest.
it follows you all the way through.
But Group 27, thankfully, was a bit of an oasis in this self-professed desert of quality.
It was. He stated this specific group represented a rather solid 4 albums and was a very enjoyable listen overall.
Solid bud. There's a bud, isn't
There
there?
is. He adds a crucial caveat. He doesn't believe that Group 27 contains an album that's destined for the Quest's ultimate top 25.
Ah, okay.
They're high-quality competitors, they're round 2 worthy, but maybe they lack that transcendent, era-defining punch required to go all the way.
So that sets a standard for us right here. We're judging the best of the solid, not necessarily the best of the transcendent.
Exactly. The real challenge here is not identifying the bad album, because there isn't one. It's identifying the least good album among 4 strong winners.
So the margins must have been razor thin, especially, I'm guessing, between third and second place.
They were, and that is precisely why the depth of the analysis in the sources matters so much. We're moving past simple taste here and diving into the specific structural reasons why Lana Del Rey's consistent atmosphere overcame Roxette's anthemic power.
And why Roxette's inventive rock musicianship just narrowly defeated Ed Sheeran's polished competence.
That's the whole game right there.
So to really appreciate just how difficult this bracket was, we have to look back at the origins. For these albums to even be here, they had to pull off a victory. And some of those victories were, well, they were monumental upsets against critical favorites.
Oh yeah, the quest is absolutely littered with fallen giants. Let's start with Lana Del Rey's Born to Die, which, spoiler alert, ultimately triumphed in Group 27. It won its round 1 contest, which was Group 177.
And looking at the opponents in Group 177, LDR overcame a really shocking mix of genres. We've got Unstable by Edema,
And metal.
Room to Roam by the Waterboys,
It's folk rock.
and Gift by Taproot, so another all-rock new metal kind of vibe.
Right. And what that tells you is that Lana Del Rey's highly stylized, melancholic sound was powerful enough to just transcend genre bias. She didn't win by being better than similar artists. She won by establishing this unique, compelling sonic world that the reviewer just preferred over 3 completely different approaches to rock music.
That's a great point. Now, for Roxette and Crash, boom bang. They secured the second qualifying spot here in Group 27, but their round 1 victory back in Group 37 was against a field that looks utterly stacked.
Stacked is an understatement. Group 37 featured Roxette against Dire Straits on Every Street,
Okay, big album.
Duran Duran's compilation decade,
Another giant.
and most famously, Tears for Fears' seminal album, Songs from the Big Chair.
Wait a minute, hold on.
Yeah.
Roxette beat Songs from the Big Chair.
They did.
That's an era-defining 80s masterpiece. It has
Right.
shout and everybody wants to rule the world. I mean, wow.
This is where the Quest's methodology truly shines and, sometimes confounds. This result suggests a really deep personal connection or a profound appreciation for the underlying musicianship of Roxette that just far outweighs the historical significance or the critical darling status of Tears for Fears.
Just proof that his standard is based entirely on his own repeatable listening enjoyment.
And his assessment of the material's structural integrity, not some consensus checklist from a magazine. The victory of Crash Boom Bang here is maybe the biggest clue as to why it triumphed over Ed Sheeran later on.
Okay, let's move on to Ed Sheeran's Divide. It ranked 3rd, got eliminated, but its round 1 win in Group 210 is arguably the most controversial upset of them all.
Group 210 was another minefield. Divide won, defeating Eminem's Revival, a compilation called The Last Dance, and critically, Radiohead's 1995 masterpiece, The Bends.
Okay, now that is genuinely unsettling. To see a critical darling like The Bends eliminated so early by a modern pop album.
It's shocking.
The Bends is the bridge between Radiohead's early work and OK Computer. What does that do to the overall integrity of the quest?
Well, it creates controversy, which is often the point of an ambitious project like this. It forces us to question our own assumptions. For the reviewer to place Divide above The Bends means he must find Sheeran's album to be a more complete, maybe less challenging, but ultimately a more satisfying and cohesive listening experience for him.
So it suggests that he might, on balance, prefer expertly crafted pop structure to post-Brit-pop sonic experimentation and angst.
That's what it points to. It's a phenomenal insight into the reviewer's palate.
Okay, finally, Texas and White on Blonde. They were eliminated in 4th place here. but they secured their round 1 win in Group 51.
Texas had a slightly easier run, I'd say. They won against Heaven by Stan Bush,
Right.
The Crossing by Big Country, and the debut album from the Scissor Sisters. So while it wasn't facing those Radiohead-level giants, it still needed to be the most cohesive and enjoyable listen among those unique pairings.
And it was. Texas proved it had the strongest front-to-back album among those 4.
They did.
So here we are. 4 winners, 2 of whom dispatched certified masterpieces, and now we have to witness the painful process of elimination all over again.
It's brutal.
Okay, let's begin our album quest with the 2 albums that were sent home, starting with the 4th-place finisher, Texas's White on Blonde. This was a massive album in 1997. It marked a really pivotal commercial high point for the band.
Oh, it was a commercially dominant force, absolutely. And it holds a deep personal resonance for the reviewer because it was the album that first put Texas on his radar.
That's the entry point.
It's the entry point to a band, and that often imparts a kind of permanent sheen to the work, you know?
For sure, and the sonic context is crucial here. The reviewer places it within the Britpop orbit, even if it's kind of on the periphery, and he highlights how much it just dominated the radio waves that year.
All those singles, Say What You Want, Halo, Black Eyed Boy, they were everywhere.
Unavoidable.
And the production is cited as a major strength. The involvement of Dave Stewart of Eurythmics is specifically noted as being responsible for giving the album this contemporary but lasting sonic feel that is, and I quote, still holding firm after 25 years.
Let's dig into that technical detail. What exactly does Dave Stewart bring to the table here that elevates White on Blonde beyond just standard 90s pop rock production?
Stewart is an expert in sonic clarity and hooks. He often uses these layers of synths and really subtle arrangements underneath the driving guitar lines. If you listen to White on Blonde, Charlene Spiteri's vocals are right up front, they're pristine, and the instrumentation is rich without ever being muddy.
It's that Eurythmic sensibility.
It's exactly that. It's using that studio polish to maximize the emotional impact. The reviewer notices this longevity, mentioning that specific sounds, like the horn arrangement on the track Insane, still absorb him today.
That's a huge testament to the timeless quality of careful, detailed production work.
It really is.
So, if the production is so pristine and the singles are undeniable, including the reviewer's personal favorite Texas song, Black Eyed Boy, how on earth did it rank last in this group?
It was a classic case of inconsistency. It just didn't hold up across the entire listening experience. The reviewer found that when he directly compared it to the 3 other albums in Group 27, the material suffered from what he called a lackluster and diluted feel.
Where does that dilution happen specifically? Is there a point in the album?
It's past the initial flush of hits. He says, once you're past Black Eyed Boy and into the second half, the momentum just completely dissipates.
Oh, okay.
It reverts to being a collection of great singles supported by what feels like B-side material. The competition in round 2 is so fierce that an album just cannot afford a significant drop in quality after the first 4 or 5 tracks.
And Lana Del Ray's album, as we'll get to, succeeds precisely where Texas fails, in maintaining a consistent mood and quality level from start to finish.
That's the key difference.
And he even compares the overall tone of White on Blonde to their earlier work, South Side, which he describes as more southern rock.
Yes, and that implies the reviewer prefers Texas when they lean into a grittier sound. It suggests the polished, pop-friendly Britpop flavor of White on Blonde might be part of the reason it felt diluted to him, especially when compared to Roxette's rock underbelly.
Exactly. So the ranking is a statement on the album format itself. You're judged on the whole journey, not just the peak moments.
The pop dilution, combined with that second half drop-off, it just solidified Texas's 4th place exit. A few great singles couldn't carry the weight of all 13 tracks.
That brings us to Ed Sheeran's Divide, which sits at 3rd place, also eliminated, despite that staggering achievement of beating Radiohead's The Bends in round 1. We have to explore why Competence, which was enough to beat a critical darling, wasn't enough to beat Roxette.
Right. And the review starts with a lot of praise. He calls Divide a thoroughly competent effort and says it's packed with excellent pop songs, it's solid, it's highly polished, and it performs its job perfectly.
But perfect competence can sometimes be less engaging than flawed creativity.
That's exactly it.
Let's look at the strengths first, though. The reviewer immediately identifies his favorite track as the opener, Eraser, which really showcases Ed's unique rap singing style.
Eraser is crucial because it sets the tone for that blend of an acoustic foundation with this rapid-fire, almost percussive vocal delivery that really defines his sound.
It's structurally sophisticated pop.
It is. It acknowledges hip-hop while retaining this really accessible melody. The reviewer is recognizing the complexity that's sort of hidden within the simplicity.
And the album does attempt a broader sonic palette, which the reviewer notes by pointing out a clear Clapton feel on tracks like the ballad Perfect and How Would You Feel?
We should probably unpack that Clapton feel. It's not just a casual comparison, it points to a very specific musical sensibility.
What does he mean by that?
On tracks like those, Sheeran uses these laid-back, blues-infused lead guitar lines, often acoustic over gentle, cyclical chord progressions. It's reminiscent of Clapton's more introspective post-Derek and the Dominoes work. Less hard rock, more melodic and emotive.
So it shows Divide is built on traditional, respected rock and blues structures. It's not just pure synthetic pop.
He's a talented musician using historical touchstones, for sure. Yet this competence wasn't enough. The main criticism really targets his vocal range when he tries to stretch himself.
Right. The reviewer is very specific about this. He says Ed's voice occasionally struggles when searching for power.
And the direct quote, "He ain't got no rock voice," is, well, it's brutal, but it's honest. When he attempts to project a more aggressive, anthemic energy, something Roxette does naturally, Sheeran's vocals just hit a limit.
It's a physical limitation, noted specifically in the context of this comparison. He excels when he sticks to his distinct, intimate style, which is proven by the heartfelt quality of the final track, Supermarket Flowers.
Supermarket Flowers is the perfect example of his strength. It's emotionally raw, it's structurally simple, and it highlights his ability as a world-class pop maker. It's poignant, not powerful, and the reviewer rewards that authentic emotional expression.
So why the elimination? If Divide is competent, musically broad, and contains these emotionally raw ballads, why did it fall to Roxette?
It really just comes down to inventiveness and energy. Roxette's Crash Boom Bang was deemed more creative and anthemic, while Ed Sheeran has hooks, Roxette has riffs, and a proper rock structure.
It's a different beast.
In this high-stakes contest, the raw, inventive musicianship of Roxette, which we'll explore now, was simply preferred over the polished, professional competence of Ed Sheeran. Competence secured the round one victory over experimental rock over the bends.
Right.
But it couldn't secure the round two victory over creative rock puck, over Crash Boom Bang.
Having ruthlessly eliminated two round one victors, we now turn to the top two finishers and examine the distinct merits that earn them safe passage to round three. Starting with our number two qualifier, Roxette's Crash Boom Bang.
And this album carries an intense layer of personal history for the reviewer, which you always have to account for in a subjective quest like this. He got the CD in late 1994, probably as a Christmas gift, and he immediately put it to work documenting a really pivotal technological shift in music consumption.
Okay, this is the moment we need to slow down and appreciate the technology context, because the story of Crash Boom Bang is so intertwined with the transition from vinyl and old cassette tapes to pristine CD audio. It was used as mixtape filler.
Exactly. I mean, in the mid-90s, recording quality was everything for enthusiasts. If you wanted to make a perfect compilation, a mixtape, you didn't record from cassette to cassette. You recorded from CD to cassette.
And not just any cassette.
No. You didn't use those cheap ferric oxide tapes. You used the high-quality, expensive gold or metal-based BASF or TDK cassettes. These tapes offered superior dynamic range and fidelity. They were the best.
And the problem was always the same. You'd curate your side A and your side B, but you'd often have 2 or 3 minutes of space left at the very end of the tape, and you needed a track that would fit that gap perfectly without cutting off.
That's where Crash Boom Bang came in. It was a known quantity of high fidelity. The reviewer utilized its shorter tracks, specifically mentioning "I'm sorry" or "lies" as reliable gap fillers.
That's so specific, I love it.
It is. And he points out that these songs didn't always fit the vibe of the overall mixtape, but the audio quality was so stellar, the CD sound transferred perfectly to the metal cassette, that it was worth the aesthetic risk. Boy, did it sound good, he notes. He's really emphasizing that perceived, pristine audio of the CD format.
That is a wonderful piece of musical history. Beyond the nostalgia, though, what was the structural element that earned it second place over Ed Sheeran?
It was the recognition of Roxette's true musical identity. While they're globally known as a pop duo, the album is structurally defined by the rock elements that are just simmering beneath the surface. It is, quote, chock full of inventive riffs and guitar hooks.
Deceptively pop on the surface with an underbelly of proper rock and roll.
That's the line. That's the critical distinction.
So how do we define that proper rock and roll here? What makes the riffs of tracks like Sleeping in My Car and Fireworks inventive enough to beat Sheeran's Clapton-esque competence?
It's the driving energy, and it's the songwriting structure of Per Gessle. His work on this album is less about acoustic polish and more about aggressive driving, electric power chords, and these memorable repeating guitar figures.
And the reviewer mentioned a specific influence.
He did. Gessle's Pete Townsend influence.
Now that's a serious claim. Linking a 90s pop rock act to one of the most inventive rock songwriters of all time. How does Crash Boom Bang showcase Townsend's influence?
Well, Townsend is famous for the windmill power chord, obviously, but more importantly for using power chords not just as rhythm but as melodic hooks. They are these crashing open chords that define the song's energy and structure.
Right, the sonic signature of The Who.
Exactly. And on Crash Boom Bang, Gessle is arguably using that same driving power chord heavy foundation more aggressively than on any other Roxette album. It gives the songs an anthemic quality that Ed Sheeran, with his acoustic limitations, just couldn't match.
So it's serious foundational musicianship disguised by excellent pop vocals.
That's it in a nutshell.
However, the album wasn't without its flaws. The reviewer raises a very relevant critique for the early CD era, which is album bloat.
Yes, he suggests the band was abusing this new CD technology. When CDs became standard, artists suddenly had 70-plus minutes of canvas to work with, unlike the strict 45-minute limit of a single vinyl LP.
And a lot of acts just succumb to cramming way too much material onto the disc.
Which leads to dilution, the same flaw that ultimately sunk Texas in this group.
He specifically calls out 2 tracks that he thinks could have been removed: First Girl on the Moon and Place Your Love. What's the risk of keeping those tracks on the album?
The risk is breaking the flow and the integrity of the album as a cohesive statement. If you have 15 tracks and 2 are seen as unnecessary filler, it just weakens the whole experience. The reviewer is rewarding intentionality and quality control.
So even though he still found it hugely enjoyable and solid, that critique shows that even the second-place winners suffered slightly from the lack of editing economy that was so common in that era. All right, now, on to the group winner. Advancing to round 3. Lana Del Ray's Born to Die. This album is already a decade old, which is a bit of a temporal shock in itself, but its quality secured the #1 spot.
Yeah, time has done nothing but solidify its status. It's described as an engrossing, delectable, and impassioned affair. What secured its victory over the raw energy of Roxette was its total, unwavering artistic commitment.
The songs are beautifully stylized and crafted.
Yes, with melodies that don't assault you but float to your ears and install into your brain.
The strength here is its consistent, almost cinematic atmosphere.
Crucially, yes. The album created a whole soundscape, this blend of orchestral strings, deep hip-hop influenced beats, and her melancholic vocal delivery that was completely unique when it arrived. And that consistent mood is maintained even when she does these mild genre crossovers.
Let's explore that crossover with the track $1 Million Man.
That track is key because it proves her emotional core is transportable. It's described as a slow, jazz-like romantic track, but it is still dripping with sadness. She shifts from that dramatic, sweeping pop production to an intimate, bluesy piano sound, yet the central emotional theme, this despondent romance and tragedy, remains absolutely fixed. This is the definition of consistent atmosphere that Texas lacked.
And her persona is just inextricably linked to the music. The specific character she projects is detailed so well in the analysis.
The reviewer zeroes in on the specific narrative she constructs through tracks like Carmen, Off to the Races, and This Is What Makes Us Girls. It's the creation of a delicate persona and despondent air. It's highly stylized, it's deliberately nostalgic, and it's emotionally vulnerable all at once.
And there's a small, kind of surprising detail about her vocal delivery on specific tracks that caught the reviewer's ear.
It's the regional accent. On tracks like National Anthem, the reviewer notes Del Rey's strong New York accent comes through loud and clear. And that level of vocal specificity adds authenticity and grit to the stylized melancholy. It's a very deliberate artistic choice that grounds the cinematic production in a specific, recognizable, vulnerable voice.
So we have 2 very different approaches to excellence winning here. Roxette is rewarded for hidden rock musicianship and anthemic hooks.
Right.
And Lana Del Rey is rewarded for consistent, emotionally cohesive style and atmosphere. They both seem to share an underlying inventiveness that Ed Sheeran's competence and Texas's dilution just could not match.
That's the perfect summation. Lana Del Rey's total artistic commitment to the vibe of the album ensured her victory. It was a singular, perfectly executed statement, which ultimately proved stronger in this particular quest than Roxette's blend of nostalgia, anthems, and power chords.
We have successfully completed the album quest for Round 2, Group 27. So let's officially confirm the final disposition of these 4 albums, recognizing the 2 that move forward and the 2 that are eliminated.
The final official rankings for Group 27 are, in 4th place, eliminated, White on Blonde by Texas.
Okay.
In 3rd place, also eliminated, Divide by Ed Sheeran. In 2nd place, and qualifying for Round 3, Crash Boom Bang by Roxette. And in 1st place, the group winner, also qualifying for Round 3, Born to Die by Lana Del Ray.
So if we look at the core criteria of Greens to Rocks, what single element really separated the winners from the losers in this bracket?
I think it was creative longevity paired with intentionality. The winners just possessed a higher degree of structural integrity throughout their entire runtime.
For Lana Del Ray, that structural integrity was achieved through a flawless, consistent emotional mood.
Exactly. Every single track reinforced the central theme, and that gave it the required depth to win.
And for Roxette, the structural integrity was based on pure musicianship and inventive construction.
Yes, the power chords, the creative riffs. It was that foundational rock energy that gave the tracks the staying power that Ed Sheeran's less aggressive pop structures simply lacked.
So conversely, the eliminated albums suffered from dilution or a lack of edge. Texas, while benefiting from excellent production by Dave Stewart, just failed the test of a consistent whole album experience.
It just fell off dramatically in the second half.
And Ed Sheeran's competence was celebrated, but ultimately it was bettered by the raw creative energy of Roxette.
Yeah.
This reveals a really high standard for album pacing and editing. The critique of Texas for dropping off, and even that mild critique of Roxette for abusing CD technology by including unnecessary tracks, shows the reviewer values a tight, perfectly edited artistic package.
Absolutely. The reviewer rewards albums that function as a cohesive journey, not just a collection of singles. It's an affirmation of the album as an art form, especially when you're dealing with the excesses of the CD era.
The elimination of these 2 strong, hit-laden contenders proves that success in Round 1 is pretty much meaningless if the album can't hold up under the microscopic, track-by-track scrutiny of Round 2.
It's a whole new level of competition.
It also forces us to reconcile the subjective nature of the whole quest. I mean, Roxette winning over Tears for Fears, Ed Sheeran winning over Radiohead, these Round 1 upsets dramatically changed the course of this entire thing.
And that's the brilliance of the methodology, I think. It creates tension, it forces the reviewer, and it forces us to ask, is Divide objectively a better album than The Bends? Maybe not by critical consensus, no.
Probably not.
But for Greens to Rocks, the answer was yes, because Divide provided a more complete, satisfying, repeatable listening experience for him in that initial grouping. However, the lack of true inventiveness in that satisfying pop structure is what ultimately sealed his elimination in Round 2. It's a study in diminishing returns.
So the ultimate takeaway is that this album quest judges not just by the height of the peaks, but by the steadiness of the plateau.
Well said.
And with that completed, we have successfully charted the complex logic of Round 2, Group 27. Lana Del Ray and Roxette advance, having proven their full album integrity and creativity, while Texas and Ed Sheeran are left by the wayside.